What's up everyone, this is Shaunak from Indomitable Tech and welcome to book number 2 for Python for non-coders. So basically this is part 2 of the series which is designed for people who are not into coding, to make them familiar with Python and to help them make use of Python to help them in their day-to-day activities. So in this particular video we'll be focusing on what are data types, what are variables, then constants and typecasting. So whenever you are working with Python or any programming language, you come across various data types. It can be text, numbers or boolean or several other things. So let's see what are the basic data types that you will encounter when making use of Python. So first one is string data type. String data type is basically any text that you put inside single inverted comma like this or double inverted comma like this. So Python is indifferent to whether you use single inverted comma or double inverted comma. So if you see here, India is in Asia is inside double inverted comma, and it is dark at night is in single inverted comma. Both these things will be the same when it comes to Python, and it will be the data type will be string. So one more thing, the format of this notebook will be, I'll be first demonstrating the data types and then I'll be executing the code to show the data types, and we'll also see how, if you do not know the data type of a certain thing, we'll see how to see the data type of that particular thing. So the next thing is integer. So integer is basically they are all the whole numbers, positive or negative and 0. So example 1, 2, -3, 4, -9 and 0. So these are basically integers. Float is any number which has a decimal, that is a dot in it. So if you see the examples over here, 1 dot will be treated as a float, then 2.34, 4.56874, -3 dot. So basically any decimal, positive or negative, will be treated as a float. Then boolean. Boolean is basically, it has just two values, either true or false, or 1 or 0. Usually 1 is equated as true and 0 is equated as false. Then these are the basic building blocks of your Python code, and based upon this we have the next item, which is list. So list is a mutable array or collection of elements. So the reason we have mentioned mutable here is because lists can be changed. So anything which is, it is a basically collection of data types. Data types can be same or different, and the collection needs to be inside these square brackets. So if you see these three examples, 1, 2, 3, 4, it is a collection of integers. Then A, B, C, D, since A, B, C and D are inside single inverted commas, so these are a collection, this list is a collection of string. And the third one, if you see ABC XYZ 1 3.5 true, so this is a collection of different data types. So ABC XYZ are string, 1 is integer, 3.5 is float and true is boolean. Then next one is tuple. Tuple is immutable collection of objects. So list was mutable and tuple is immutable. So immutable is you cannot change the sequence of tuple. Basically I'll come to what is the difference between list and tuples. So let us check the examples of tuple. So referring to the examples will help you understand. So if you see, similar to list, instead of square brackets we have round brackets over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, this is a tuple of integers A, B, C, D, tuple of string, and then the third one, tuple of string, float, integer and boolean. So it does not need to be of the same data type, it can be a combination of data types. So next thing is, what is the difference between list and tuples? So lists are mutable that is lists can be changed. So you can perform different operations on list, like adding to the list, or changing, for sorting the list, changing the elements of a list. The same thing you cannot do with tuple. So referring to this notebook, lists are mutable, that is the sequence in the list can be changed, elements in the list can be changed, reassigned a new value. These things are not possible in tuples. That is the same thing which I discussed. Then next one is set. So it is an unordered collection of unique elements enclosed in a curly bracket. So here you have to make use of this curly bracket, and basically it is a collection of elements, but it is an unordered collection of elements, and it will be unique elements. So list and tuples, there can be repetition of elements. So in this first example 1 2 3 4, there might be an instance where 1 is repeated 2 or 3 times. So this is not possible in set. In set, 1 will appear only once. So basically one element of a set will appear only once. And similar to list and tuples, set can be collection of multiple data types as well. Like here if you see the second example, this is a set of integer, then float, then string, then boolean. And the last one is dictionary. So dictionary is a collection of key value pairs similar to set. They are enclosed in curly brackets as well. So key, it is basically followed by key colon the value. So referring to the first example, so here 1 is the key, and followed by the colon we have the list of 1 2 3, then 2 is the key, followed by 4 5 6 is the value of that particular key, and then third, this 3 is the key, followed by 7 8 9 as the value of that particular key. Also keys need to be immutable. So keys can either be integer or string or tuple. A list cannot be a key in a dictionary. So if you refer to the second example, here the key is the tuple of A and B, and the value for that key is hello. Then C is a key, and the value of this key is 1 2 3 4. Then 1 2 3 is the tuple, and the value of this key is the list 1 2 and true. So not to make it difficult, these are the basic data types that you will encounter in Python. There are different data types as well, like objects and series and data frames, but that we will discuss as and when we encounter that. Those are the things which you will not necessarily encounter, but these things are the basic building blocks of your Python code that you will be making use of widely. Now coming to the demonstration, so data type demo. So example, I will type example of a string. So I am enclosing this in double inverted comma, and if I execute this, I'll click on this run button. It is giving me this string, example of a string. And let me add one code block here, and if I want to check the data type of this, I just need to copy this and paste it here in type, and again execute this. So it is telling str, which means string. So if you type anything, if you pass anything in this type, and you have to pass it in type and then in round brackets, it will tell the type of data that is. So to make it simple, let us store this in a variable. I will come to what variables are later on. So let us store this in string variable as strvar and equal to this example of a string. After executing this, this particular thing, example of a string, gets saved in this strvar. I am not writing this in any quotation marks, because this is a variable that we will be making use of. And again, if you want to check the data type, just pass in the name of that variable strvar and then execute it. It is telling us it is a string. Similarly, to check integer, I am typing int var. This you can give any name. The name of the variable can be anything. It does not need to be int var. It can be anything that you decide. But make sure it does not start with it does not start with a number. It needs to start with an alphabet. So let us say 22, and sorry, and I will execute this, and then if I add code block, and then I'll pass in this int var in this type, it will tell me the data type, which is int for integer. Similarly, for float, I will type float var as 33 dot, and if I just type in as dot, it will still tell me it is a float value, because whenever I give this dot after a number, it will automatically consider it as a float. So if I type in type and then float var, and if I execute this, it is telling me the data type is float. So basically, pass in anything in this type and it will tell you the data type of that particular variable. And boolean, let's say bool var as true. So t needs to be capital. Similarly, if you want to pass this as false, f needs to be capital. And if I want to see the type, I will pass in this as type bool var. It is telling me the data type is bool. Next one is the list. I will pass in the variable as list var, and it can be 1 2 3 4. This is a list of integers, and if I type in the type as list var, it will tell me it is a list. Same for tuple var, and inside round brackets I will pass in 1 2 3 4. Also, one more thing here, if you see, I have mentioned white spaces, that is space bar, and here I have not mentioned it, so it does not matter at all. So it will still consider both the things as same, whether I mentioned space or not. And here if I type in type and then tuple var and execute it, it will tell me it is a tuple. And set, if I say set var, and then if I pass in a, then 1 and true, so an alphabet which is string, 1 which is integer, and this true which is boolean, inside this curly bracket, it will consider this as a set. So if I type in type set var and execute, it is telling me the data type is set. And dictionary, so I will say dict var as inside curly bracket, I have to pass in key value pairs. So let's say a will be the key and the value will be, let's say, America, and b will be, let's say, ball, c will be China. So this is a dictionary, because unlike set, it has key value pairs. So this is one key value pair, this is the second key value pair, and this is the third key value pair. Key value pairs, you have to enter this colon in between key value pairs. And if I want to check the type, it will be type in bracket dict var and execute. It is telling me it is a dictionary. Now moving on to variables. So these were the variables, this var, tuple var, set var, dict var. So these are all variables. So what are variables? So variables, if you see over here, variable is a name which points toward a data value stored. So here the dict var, so this was the data and we are saving this data inside this variable. So basically variable is just an arrow which is pointing towards this data. So if you refer to the text over here, a variable is a name which points towards a data or value stored. So example, the same thing which we did above. So example, string var. So what is up everyone? So it is inside double inverted comma, and element1, here the variable name is element1 and the data stored is summer is a season. So that is inside single inverted comma. So summer can also be a name if you watch Rick and Morty. Anywho, so the next variable integer int var, and you pass in this integer 765, element2 -50 is the integer. Similarly for float, similarly for bool. So float variable 765, if it was only 765 without the dot, then it will be an integer, but if you put this dot at the end, it will be considered as a float. And then of course dot 1 2 3, so the decimal point, the number digits after the decimal point, it will be treated as a float. Then boolean will be either true or false. Then list, var and element, so this is a list and this is the variable in which this data is stored. Similarly, element5 is the name of the variable and the data it stores is ACE. Similarly for tuple var is the name of the variable and this is the data that it stores. So the tuple data needs to be in the form of round brackets. There is a mistake over here, so my bad. So let me just quickly fix that. So it needs to be inside inverted comma, and then so coming back to tuple, so if you want to pass only one element, refer to this particular element 6. So if you only pass as false without this comma, it will not treat it as a tuple, it will treat it as a boolean, considering the false as the element. But if you want to pass only one item in a tuple, you need to pass it with a comma, only then it will be treated as a tuple. Then set, this set of days in a week, so this is set var. Element 7 1 2 3 4 is a set. Then dictionary 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, these are the keys, and Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, these are the corresponding values. Similarly, this is the variable element 8 and A is the key, 1 2 3, this list is the variable, is the value, B is the key, and 4 5 6 is the value. So just to show the demo, again the same thing which we did above. So str var, so hello, so hello is the data and it is getting stored inside str var. There is one more thing which I would like to talk about strings, that is this f string. I think since Python version 3.6 they have introduced f string. So f string example, so this is the name of the variable that I will be making use of. So let me just store, first I will type f, let me just delete this so there will be no confusion. I will type f followed by inverted comma or double inverted comma, and in this I will pass curly bracket, and in this curly bracket I will pass in this variable string var, strvar. Strvar has hello stored inside it, so we will say hello world and we will type world. So whatever is stored inside this variable will get reflected in this f string example. So if I print this, print is an inbuilt function which prints the value of the variable. So if I print this f string example and if I execute this code block, it will say hello world. So this f string when used in the text, so you have to pass in the variable inside this curly bracket. So strvar is passed inside this curly bracket, and because it is passed inside this curly bracket, it is giving this hello, because hello is stored inside here strvar, and that's the reason it is reflected over here, hello world. So this is the purpose of f string, that is to use another variable which is stored in your current text. And hello can be number as well, let's say 23, and if I execute it again, so it is saying 23 world. So when you pass anything in f string, so that particular variable gets converted to string automatically. So let's pass in a boolean true, which is a boolean. So strvar has boolean stored inside it, and if I execute it, it is saying true world, because this boolean gets converted to string because I am passing it in f string. So let me convert it back to hello and then execute. So it says, okay, so hello I need to pass it in inverted comma and then execute. So hello world. Next, integer variables, the same thing, int var, or let's say ex2. So example 2, we will save it as, let's say 55. So 55 is an integer. This is ex2 is the variable, and the data it stores is 55. If you want to see what ex2 is, ex underscore 2, pass it in this inbuilt function of print, it will show what it will show the value that it stores. Similarly for float, ex3, and let us pass in the same thing 55, but let us add this dot at the end of it and then print it ex3, execute it 55.0. It is adding this 0 on its own because it knows, because we have passed in this dot at the end, so it treats it as a float. Next, boolean variable ex4, I will pass it as not true, let us pass it as false this time. Print ex4, it will show as false. And also if you want to see the data type, pass it in this type, which is an inbuilt function similar to print. It will tell the data type of ex4 and execute it. It is telling the data type as bool. Bool means boolean. List variable ex5 equal to, inside square bracket, if I want to pass, let's say a, b, c. So this is a list, and if I want to print this, I will pass it in this print and then ex5 and execute it. We are getting this list. Then tuple variable, the same thing, ex6, inside square bracket 1 2 3 and print ex6. If I execute this, I am getting this tuple 1 2 3, and it will appear the same. If I remove the space, it will still give the same thing, 1 2 3. So space, whether you give space or do not include space, it basically gives the same thing. But at the end of this video series, I will be talking about PEP 8, which are a set of rules set by the Python community, and those set of rules help you to keep your code readable and up to industry standards. So these standards are followed by coders across industries. So basically, if you go into professional coding, so you are supposed to follow these PEP 8 standards when you are working with Python code. Then set variables, so ex7, if you want to pass a blank set, you should not directly just put a set of curly brackets, because if you see, if you only pass in a set of curly brackets, it will take it as dictionary. So if you want to pass in a blank set, instead of curly brackets, type in set and then round brackets. So this will tell this it is a blank set. So if I execute this, now it is considering as set, and let us pass this set. So 1 5 7. So this is, if I print this ex7 the variable, it will give me a set 147. Also if I type in set and then pass in the values 147, it will give the same thing. Okay, sorry, my bad. So set is, it is taking it as a typecasting. I will talk about typecasting at the end. So moving on, so set, you have to pass it in curly brackets, and then dictionary ex8, and let's say 1 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. So 1 is the key and 1 2 3 1 2 4, this list is the value, and then 2 will be, let's say 3 4 5 3 4 6. So this is first key value pair, this is the second key value pair. Key value pairs can be of any number 1 2 3 4 5, depends upon how you want to use that dictionary. And then print it ex8, execute it, it is giving us the dictionary. So basically the value which is stored inside this variable. Next we come to constants. So constants are basically similar to variables. The only difference is variables may change down the line in your code, constants remain the same. And as per convention, we store variables in small letters and we store constants in block letters. So if you see the examples over here, sorry. So instead of small letters, the name of the variables, I am storing them in block letters. So str constant, because the sun rises to the east. So this will never change in the code that I will be writing. Variables might change, constants will not change. So as per convention, we write constants in, if the variable is holding a constant, we write that variable in block letters. So this is the string example, this is for integer, this is for float, exactly similar to the above. You can refer this notebook, so I won't waste your time. Now demo again, ex1 equal to again hello. So this hello will never change, that is the reason I am writing it in ex1. Then same ex2 1. So 1, this value of this ex2 will never change since it is a constant, and that is the reason I am writing it in block letters. Similarly ex3 equal to 1.1. So this is a float value. And then boolean constant, so ex4 equal to true. Then list constant, so ex5, pass it on list 1 comma, so this will be considered as a list. Then ex6 in round brackets 1 comma, this will be considered as a tuple, sorry, this should be ex6. And then set ex7 inside curly brackets 1 2 3, so this will be a set. And then dictionary ex8 1 2 3 4 comma 2 4 5 6, so this will be treated as dictionary. And if you want to check the data types, you can just do print type of ex1, then type ex2, then type ex3, type ex4, type ex5, type ex6, type ex7, and then last one type ex8. And if I execute this, it will tell class string, class int, class float, class boolean, class list, class tuple, class set, class dictionary. I will tell you why it is calling it a class, because basically the variables that we are saving the data into are nothing but objects, class objects. Class will be discussed at the end of the series. At that time it will make more sense, but basically just know that the variables that you are storing the data into, so that gets stored as class objects, and there are methods which you can perform on these objects. Methods are nothing but different operations which you can perform. Like for example, if you have this string ex1 string, and if you want to capitalize all the alphabets of this data, so you can do that ex1 dot upper. So upper is the name of the method which converts all the alphabets of the variable into block letters. So if I execute this with all methods end with round brackets, if I execute this, so all the alphabets got converted to block letters. If you see over here, hello, ELLO, which was small, got converted to block letters. So just know that variables get stored as class objects, and you can perform specific functions or methods which are related to that particular data type. So we will discuss this at in the subsequent lectures, what are the different functions that you can perform. And similar to this notebook, I will be also discussing about the examples, because I think instead of just teaching or talking about what we can do, examples are the best way to learn coding. Then last one is typecasting for this particular video. So unlike other programming languages like Java, you can convert one data type to another data type. There are of course limitations to this, but you can convert string to integer, integer to string, float to integer, integer to string, then integer to boolean, boolean to integer, boolean to string, string to boolean, and so on. So if you see the example over here, setting the data type of element or converting compatible data from one type to another. So the data needs to be compatible if you want to convert it from one data type to another. So let us check the examples. So string, we use str, and then we pass the name of that particular variable inside that str round brackets. So example is convert boolean to string. So let's say bool variable is true, and if we want to convert this true to string, we pass in str and round brackets, since we are converting it to string data type, and we pass in the name of that variable. So if we print it out, it will give us true written in inverted comma, and also if we pass in this strvar inside the type, it will give us the data type as string. Similarly, to convert the data type to int, that is integer, we pass in the name of that variable in int followed by round brackets, and in this round brackets you pass in the name of that variable. So example again, bool var, which was true, if we pass it inside int bool var, so true gets converted to 1, false get converted to 0. Similarly float, so bool var is true, and if we want to convert it to float, we pass it in float followed by followed by round brackets, and the output of that will be 1.0 because we are converting it to float. And again, if you check the data type using the type round bracket name of that variable, it will give the data type as float. Then boolean, so to convert a data to boolean, you use BOOL. So let's say if you have integer variable as 0, int var 0, whose value is 0, and if you pass it inside bool round brackets, the output that you will get is false, because 0 is equated to false and 1 is equated to 1 is equated to true. List. So to convert string to list or any other item to list, that is, the item needs to be compatible, so it can be tuple or set to a list, you use list and round brackets. So here string var, I am saving this Python inside this variable strvar, and I am passing this variable inside list followed by round brackets, and in that I am typing in the name of that variable, and the output that I will be getting is a list. So Python will get converted to a list of python, all separated by comma. Similarly for tuple, same as above, pass in the name of that variable in tuple round bracket, and I will get a tuple of Python separated by comma inside round brackets. Set. So set is unordered collection of elements. So if you see, for list and tuple the order was maintained, but if I convert Python, that is the string value, to a set, I am getting output not in the given sequence. Also, if there are any repetitive values, those repetitive values will appear only once, because set gives only unique values and not repetitive values. And dict converts compatible data sets like pandas data frame to dictionary. This we will discuss in the next video series, where I will be discussing about how to use Excel and CSV files using Python. So this example I do not have at the moment, but this pandas data frame, this we will discuss when we are discussing about data analysis and the operations that you usually perform on using Excel, and the same operations we will be performing using Python. The reason why we will be making use of Python is because the code, once you have the script ready, if you utilize 1 or 2 days creating a Python file, that same thing you can do within a matter of seconds using Python. Now example of string casting. So let's say you have this bool variable of false. So now if we check the data type of bool var as it is bool, and if I print this, not print because print will convert this to string, so bool var, if I execute this, it is giving as false, and now I will convert this to string str bool var. So this is the name of the variable I am storing it inside, and if I want to convert this to string, I will type str followed by round brackets, and inside this I will type bool var, the name of that variable, and upon executing this false will get converted to string. So if I execute this string bool var, it is giving the same value false, but it is inside single inverted comma because it has converted it to string. So if I pass this in type str bool var, type is string, so it is converted it to string. Next, integer casting, we will make use of this bool var only. We have saved this as false, so bool var false, and let us convert this to int bool var equal to int round bracket and then bool var. So if I print this, it is giving me 0 because 0 stands for false. If I convert this to true and execute this, it is giving 1 because 1 is equated as true when you convert from boolean to integer and integer to boolean. Now float casting, say bool var as let's say false, and float bool var. I have to type in float round brackets bool var, and if I print it float bool var, it will give 0.0. So this dot is given because this has been converted to float. Again, if I convert this false to true and execute it, it will give 1.0. Now moving on to the next thing. Also, if you want to check the data type, just type in type, pass in the name of that variable float bool var, and then execute it. It is giving me a float. So we have converted this boolean to float. Then boolean casting, let's say we have this integer whose value is 1, and if I want to convert this to boolean, so bool int var equal to bool. Bool is used to convert data types to boolean, so bool int var. So if I print this bool int var, it will give me true. And if I want to check the data type bool int var, it is a boolean. Similarly, one more example of converting string variable to boolean. So let's say if we want to convert false, this is a string which has the text false inside it, and if I want to convert this to boolean bool str var, so we are saving this inside this variable bool str var. So bool and then str var, and if I print this, it should bool str var, it should give me as false. Also the data type of this bool str, this should be boolean. Then list casting, so let's say string variable is, let's say what name should we give, so Messi, because he recently won the World Cup, so this will be our string variable. And if I want to convert this to list, so I'll say list str var, and I will pass this as a list, and inside list I will pass in the name of this variable. And then let us print out this list str var, which is the name of our variable, and if I execute this, I have got this Messi in list format where every alphabet is separated by a comma. Similarly for tuple, string var, let's say Ronaldo, because Ronaldo is the closest person to Messi, so closest as in when it comes to professional achievements. So tuple str var, and I will pass in this variable inside tuple round bracket and str var, and then print. So tuple str var, let us see the value, it is a tuple Ronaldo, both Messi and Ronaldo. So these alphabets are as per the order of the string which we have passed. That order is not changed, and this order will now be changed when we come to set, because set is an unordered collection of unique elements. So again string var, let us select Ronaldo again. I'm just selecting Ronaldo because his name has more alphabets than Messi. There is no bias that I like Ronaldo or Messi. So if I want to convert it to set, so I will say set str var. So this is the name of my variable, and I will pass the name of Ronaldo, that is string variable, inside set round bracket str var. If I print this, this is the set variable, so print print set str var, and if I execute this, so if you see, alphabets, unique alphabets which make the name Ronaldo are appearing over here. Also, they are not in a specific format, they are in unordered format, and O which is appearing twice is appearing only once over here. Similarly, if we pass in Messi, it will give only M, E, S and I, because S is appearing twice, but when we convert it to set, it will discard the repeated value and it will only give one unique value. So if I execute this, it is giving EMSI. So one of the good things that we have this conversion typecasting is because, let's say if I have a list of elements which has repeated values in it, and if I want to condense that list of elements to only the unique values, so I can convert this list to a tuple. So for example, if I have this list strvar, this variable, so I have this list of alphabets which are Messi's name, and if I want to see only those alphabets, if I want to see only the alphabets which make up this name, I can convert this to set. So I am passing this variable inside set, and I should get only the alphabets, only the unique alphabets, this MEIS. So as of now, just understand what typecasting is. So you can convert one element to another. Since Python is a dynamic language, it is not a rigid language. You can convert variables from one data type to another. This comes in handy particularly when you are dealing with data analysis, when you want to convert entire row of elements from one data type to another. So let us recap what we saw in this particular video. We started with what are data types. In that we saw string, which is basically a text, integer, which are whole numbers, positive, negative and 0, float, which have a decimal, that is dot in it, so 1 dot or 2.34. Then we saw what booleans are. Boolean is two values, either true or false, or 1 or 0. Then list, which is a ordered collection of elements which is mutable word being the important one, because it can be changed and manipulated and appended. Tuple is immutable collection of elements which are enclosed by round brackets. Then set is unordered collection of unique elements which are enclosed by curly brackets. And dictionary is a collection of key value pairs. So there will be one pair or several pairs of key and value. And to extract value from a dictionary, let me just give you an example. So this was our dict_var, name of our element, name of our variable, sorry, my bad. Dict_var is name of our variable. And if I want to extract a value which is saved inside this C key, this C is a key, the third key in this particular variable, I will pass this as inside square bracket and then the name of that key, which is C, and execute this. It will give China, which is the name of that particular key. This is the easiest approach to extract the value after giving the key. When you go into detail programming, so what we usually do is dict_var, and we use the get command, get followed by the first variable will be the name of the key, and if you don't pass anything over here, it will take not available as none type as by default. So to get the value, you write dict_var, which is the name of the variable, followed by dot, followed by get, and then execute. It is giving China. So what if C was not present over here? So I will remove this C, and if I execute this, it will pass in none value. So it is not giving anything, because if I print this, it will give none. So in coding, instead of not getting any value, we pass in this get. So if I execute this right now, it will give an error, value not found error, key error. So key error, because there is no key inside our dict var. So for that purpose, instead of getting error, we use this get command. And another reason that we use this get command is, if I have passed in this key, but if this key is not present, it will give me none. Also, if we do not want none, and if we want to pass in a customized message, we can do that. Just add a comma and then type in the message, or type in the value that you want. So let's say I want to say key not present, and then if I execute this, I will get key not present. So basically, if you pass in get, if you want to extract value of a key, use get, and if that key value is not present, it will pass on this message if the key value is not present. And now let us again add key value C as China, China. Again, since now C and China are present, this will give the value as China. I will run it, and now if I execute this, key not present will disappear because C has a value now. So if I execute this, it will again give China. So this is how you can extract data from dictionary. And after data types, we saw variables. What variables are? Basically, it is a pointer to a place where the data is saved. So a variable is a name which points towards a data or value stored. Then we saw what constants are. Constants are nothing but variables, but constants do not change over the course. Constant remains same, hence the name constant. So basically, any value which remains constant and does not change. Usually variables which point towards a constant value are denoted in uppercase. So this is a convention which we follow in programming language, in our industry code. So if it is a constant, we pass it in block letters. The variable it is a convention. So code will run even if you pass it in small letters, but it is a convention. So following the convention, if anyone sees your code and if they see the name of the variables in block letters, they know that this is a constant value. Then typecasting, that is converting the data from one data type to another. So that is nothing but typecasting. So you can convert string to integer, integer to float, float to boolean, boolean to string, and so on. So that's all for this session. I will be keeping this notebook on GitHub, the same notebook, and the link to this GitHub notebook will be in the description. In the next session, we'll be continuing with Python for beginners, and basically this series is for Python for non-coders. So anyone who is working in the field of HR, medical, or finance, or similar non-coding professions, they can learn how to use Python to execute their day-to-day activities which they are doing in Excel, and to automate certain tasks. So that's the reason behind making this particular video. If you find this course as in if you find this video and this video series helpful, let me know in the comments, and also my details if you want to reach out to me are mentioned over here. shaunakdeshpande.python shaunak.python@gmail.com, and keep on learning, keep on getting good with Python. Down the line, I think every profession will need to learn some coding language or another. So thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this. Join me in the next video. Thank you.